Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Steven from Shock Extreme Productions, and I have another movie review for you guys today. And this one, once again, is going to be for Brain Damage Films. Yes, we are at the end of our reviews of the whole Traces of Death series. That's for now, at least. But we're going to be taking a look at the last film in the 9 Years of Hell box set. And that one, of course, is Traces of Death Part 5, Resurrection. When it comes to Traces of Death Part 5, this is kind of like the Zombie Bloodbath 2 of the Traces of Death series, where the death scenes, there are not as many of them compared to some other scenes, but we'll get into that a little later. But as far as that goes, it's actually probably, to me, the second most disturbing Traces of Death film next to Part 1. I'll give you a little rundown on the back. All new footage, even more vile than before. Absolutely no stage scenes. The most intense, extreme graphic shockumentary scenes ever continues. It is a no-holds-barred onslaught of carnage. Once again, we walk hand in hand with the gruesome reality of the most brutal and vile scenes of inhumane atrocities. Follow the cameras into the rooms of violated female murder victims. Watch the camera follow the most bloody, vile, and puke-inducing car accident series ever caught on tape. See the infamous live highway shotgun suicide. See firsthand the most blood-soaked footage ever captured. Take a look in dark and gothic counterculture. I was actually doing really good too. Dark and gothic counterculture known as suspension. And we introduce the world of extreme backyard wrestling. Out of the crypt, beyond the cemetery, through the gates, and into your home, Traces of Death is back in action. See, I was doing really good until gothic counterculture. But like I was saying before I get into that, the plot of these movies, there is no plot. They are basically compilations of scenes revolving around death, people dying, suicides, autopsies, embalmings, surgeries. Anything that's sick and twisted is ending up in this movie. But like I was saying before, the movie isn't really that focused on the death scenes. It is more focused on violence in this one, and that is where we're going to go into the, there are 3 scenes of this, and that is the scenes of the extreme backyard wrestling. This is pretty much the highlight of this movie. Extreme backyard wrestling is pretty much these people that get together and they just do their own wrestling things. They have their own little rings set up. They have their own little equipment. You know, they'll have chairs, tables. Some of them even had baseball bats wrapped with barbed wire or stuck with nails. It goes on 3 times. There are 3 different leagues, and I say leagues very loosely. They go into like international, national, and like California, I guess. It's basically people just wrestling and beating up each other. You do see one gore scene. That's all I remember really. The scene where someone gets a trash can smashed on their head and you see blood just drip down. But I think that scene is on YouTube. But some other scenes. Oh, the live famous shotgun suicide highway thing. That was pretty interesting. You don't see much. I don't remember. It's been actually a couple of months since I watched Traces of Death 5, but you're watching a truck go onto the highway and it's being chased by police cars. There's a helicopter in the sky recording everything. And I believe what happens is the guy pulls out a shotgun apparently, and blows his brains out. And some other scenes, let's see. Suspension. Now there's a scene probably close to the middle of the movie where you see the brain damage character. Basically, it looks like Traces of Death Part 3 in the scene, except he's facing you guys with his hair down, everything like that. And he's basically saying, you know, I have seen many, many scenes of death, and I've witnessed many cruel and inhumane atrocities. But now it's time to introduce some new friends of mine. And these people end up being extreme piercers, people that really are really into the hardcore piercings, stuff that you'll see at freak shows, people that'll pretty much pierce their chest area, take a shoelace and pierce it almost like you're tying a shoe in your chest. They're those people that put the nails in their backs, and they'll put the strings up and they'll hang and spin from a ceiling, and that's where suspension is. And there's a big chunk of this movie devoted to the piercings, and then you also see some disgusting stuff. You see some dude's scrotum completely pierced. You see, I believe, a woman's vagina completely pierced. Now, I don't have anything against piercings. In fact, recently I went and got my piercings done. I know they're small, but I have to wait 6 weeks before I could get bigger fucking piercings. But, you know, the piercings I really didn't mind until I saw some dude's fucking ball sacks pierced. That was disgusting. Like all these Traces of Death movies, you do get your car accidents, then you get your surgeries. Now, here's one scene out of the whole Traces of Death series, the one scene in this movie that made me almost throw up. I felt it right here, but for some reason I didn't. There are these two people, and viewer discretion is heavily advised in this scene. You know, this is absolutely disgusting, and you just hearing it might want to throw up, so viewer discretion very highly advised. There is a scene in this movie with two people, and there's a guy and a girl. The guy gives the girl a dish. The girl goes over to a corner, squats over the dish, and shits in the dish. She brings the dish back to whoever. The guy is like set up at a nice restaurant or whatever. It's a house, but it looks like a nice table. Takes a spoon, picks it up, looks at it, and you're like, oh, he's not gonna eat it. He's not gonna eat. He eats the shit. He eats shit. And that was very, very close to making me throw up compared to everything that I've seen throughout these movies. That scene solo almost made me throw up. I am not kidding. But, that's all that's really there. It's basically, you know, extreme backyard wrestling, the piercers, the suspension, and basically scenes that you've basically already have seen before. Now, for the DVD special features, you of course get the full screen presentation, you get bonus footage, which is kind of the same as the other footage you see, scene selection, and interviews. Now for the interviews on these DVDs, they are interviews with Darren Ramage, also known as Brain Damage. This one, he really doesn't talk about Traces of Death in the interviews. He mainly talks about some movies being released at the time by Brain Damage Films, which was very new. I think he talks about like Hell's Highway, Toe Tags, Terror Tunes, which was very big at the time, and then he also talks about how he got to work with Ron Jeremy, Lizzie Borden, and then he also talks about how he ended up releasing the Traces of Death box set. So basically, I would say Part 1 and Part 4 have the best interviews. Now, the music in this, you know, Relapse Records or Nuclear Blast, they did not have a, Traces of Death 5 didn't have a soundtrack for whatever reason, I don't know. But there is pretty kick-ass music in it other way. You get music by Bile, Victims, and Ecstasy. Bile, Victims, and Ecstasy. SIC, which stands for, I believe, Satanic Industries, or just Sick. No, just cut that. Bile, Victims, and Ecstasy. Bile, Victims, and Ecstasy. SIC, or Sick. Wolfpack, Torque, Torso, The Bad Luck 13 Riot Extravaganza, 13 Miles Down, Pelvic Meatloaf, PWR, and A Tribute to Terrible. And honestly, I haven't heard of any of those bands except for Sick. But like the rest of the movies, I do not I'm not gonna give them a rating just because I feel like I can't. But yeah, that was Traces of Death Part 5 for you. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but that is it for the Traces of Death 9 Years of Hell DVD box set. Now, like I said before, I'll just put it back over here. I reviewed these movies mainly because nobody else was doing them, and I thought, you know, if some of you guys, which I know a lot of you guys have tried watching these movies, I wanted to give you guys kind of an insight into what you're gonna expect or what you're paying for exactly. Because I've seen a lot of other people just show off their box set in a DVD collection. They didn't go in depth in it, and I felt like justice needed to be served in a way. But this does not just close the door. I will be trying my hardest to find out information regarding the continuation of Traces of Death. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to try to find out if there will be a Traces of Death 6 and or future Traces of Death movies. And if there comes to a point, I will be checking out the soundtracks, mainly Traces of Death Part 3 and 4, their soundtracks. So if the time comes for that, then I will be doing reviews on the soundtracks, which I don't think I've ever done before besides some Cradle of Filth albums. And I'll be finding out news regarding future Traces of Death movies. But for now, that is it for the Traces of Death series. I hope you guys enjoyed. I might put a like a retrospective or my thoughts on watching all those movies, because I think you'll enjoy that story as well. But if you like these videos, definitely like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever you guys do. Once again, my name is Steven from Shock Extreme Productions, and until next time, see y'all later.